Yeah, man, it's May the 3rd, 2022. It's Kevin Christian. I want to talk about something in particular, why gang stalkers physically attack people they call targets with broadcast. So that's what I'll be covering here. First of all, you need to understand what's going on with gang stalking in general. Yeah, we have the street theater, which is people in public. If your neural monitoring profile is on public, where anybody can access it to some extent, usually they're not going to be able to access it to the full extent, but they will be able to access at least to see where you are, to be able to participate and find you in public to be able to put on their little street theater show. So otherwise, gang stalking is very much about broadcast. And a gang stalker themselves, they have access to neural monitoring and their own profile, their own neurological broadcast frequency control panel profile. All right. And there's a couple different ways that I believe that they access this. It's all something to do with the internet. Um, but obviously, we could assume that there is a website that they would have to access and find their self on there. Um, but it's also very likely that there's a software. You hear a lot about software, people saying like tortureware and this and that. But basically, what you'll be dealing with is a software that is an interface to um, to neural monitoring that would be linked to this satellite broadcast system with some sort of um, script written in like the terminal or something like that, and or you could like embed it into a program. Like say for example, they might use a Facebook app, and I've witnessed this personally where somebody went to the weather app built into the Facebook app, and they did like a secret screen maneuver, and it started spinning like an enigma, and then they stopped it on a certain code, and it like went in to neural monitoring um, where they would be able to access different settings, and it may look like something else, but this means that, and this means this, or whatever. So, but it can get pretty intricate, and there's a lot of different ways that they hide neural monitoring, and oftentimes it would be on a virtual device, whether that be hosted online or on their physical device. But you wouldn't go into their files on an Android and find, neural monitoring or something like that. It would be in a virtual machine on the device, or a virtual machine that they could log into that was hosted online. And at that point, the hardware is just the hardware. So your software version, like say if you got iOS 15 on your phone, that's your software version, and that's what you consider your phone. But it's on the hardware. Okay, and the hardware is the actual phone that you can touch, and the processor and the screen and the memory and all of that. But the software is just a version. That's your version. That's your version. That's on the hardware version. And when they get on our stuff, that's what they'll do. They'll put a virtual machine, a new complete software version on your hardware, and they'll make their version the administrator, and then you become a user with your software version. But the hardware version is the host of the software, which can be multiple devices on a single hardware. Or you could log in to the virtual device software version on the hardware online, and then still your hardware is the hardware. But anyway, so that's pretty much how neural monitoring works. And when they're able to connect to you, which they're not always, okay? So it's not everybody's not in on it like you would think sometimes. They may have your profile on public, but at that point, it's still probably more of a limited type of access, because you have to consider this, okay? A gang stalker definitely has neural monitoring. That's how they're able to do this. That's how they're able to make the connection to you. If they're talking to you with artificial broadcast telepathy, or physically attacking you, or or the mind control stuff, receiving and broadcasting back and forth. The satellite broadcast system is the in between for all of that. And so I know this video's kind of long. It's gonna get a little longer, but I want you to understand the basics before you start to try to understand their mentality of the torture and things like that. So, but if a gang stalker they have possession of their neural monitoring, they connect to who they want to. They control that. All right. And if they don't want, it's like a Facebook friend request. No, I do not accept it. You're blocked. Okay. I can do that because I have control over my Facebook, my normal Facebook that, that normal people access, the regular Facebook. So, I have control over that. And if I don't want to be your friend, or if I don't want you checking out my profile, I can block you and not accept you, or decide to connect with you on what levels, and that's how it works. Neural monitoring would be very much the same as that, where they can choose, excuse me, they can choose their level of connection with whomever that they want to be connected to, or however they want to work out their broadcast settings and the mind control and the telepathy and everything. So they're able to choose that and create their own level of connection with you. So, or with each other or anybody else. Oftentimes they'll be connected with each other. They like to be on mind control together. They like to be able to communicate through broadcast telepathy together, and they can choose those settings and set it up how they want to. So, when you don't have access to your neural monitoring, know that it does exist 100%, and everybody's on neural monitoring. Every human, the satellite broadcast system isn't being picky and choosy. And in the early days of my channel, I was really saying something that was wrong. I was like, hey, they can scan you in from your neurological broadcast frequency. But the fact is that you're already scanned in. And when you were born, or even before you were born, as soon as you had a neurological broadcast frequency, as soon as that existed, the system picked that up and could read you, and you were on neural monitoring. So everybody's on this. It's just a matter of, do you have access or not? And the fact that millions of gang stalkers and other people do have access lets me know that I can have access. So it's just a matter of like them making sure that they keep us from having access, because they want to be able to use our neural monitoring to their advantage. So if you don't have it, then somebody else does. So just like somebody might have their own neural monitoring and decide to become a gang stalker and connect to whoever they want to, well, somebody, a specific person, owns or possesses and controls your neural monitoring. And that's where it can become like human trafficking, where they may buy a neural monitoring from somebody, or sell one, or just let it go on the public. Pick it up if you want to. And that can happen. A lot of people are probably protected in that way. Obviously, there's people out there that probably have a lot of neural monitoring profiles, and they protect them to keep the same from running too rampant. But if somebody has yours and they don't have it active on public or anything else, and nobody's able to access that, which they can do that, because just like they can turn everybody off to themselves and control their settings and live in peace, they can do the same thing for somebody else. So this is why you don't have 100 million people saying, oh, neural monitoring, because there's people out there that have possession of these neural monitorings and protect them, and for whatever reason. Okay, there's much speculation that could be said about it, but somebody can buy or gain access to your neural monitoring with the right circumstances, if whoever has it wants to let it go. And whoever does have control of your neural monitoring, like in my case, I know who has my neural monitoring. I know who has possession and control of my neural monitoring profile. And they allow certain people full access. And those certain people are the full-time gang stalkers that I have. And their level of access is anything, everything. They can connect to me in every way. They can talk with broadcast telepathy out loud where I can hear them, and they can physically attack me with their monitor broadcasts and whatever they want to do. They can do anything that they want. They completely invade my whole life, and they try to have an effect and on my life, in mostly a negative way. There's also a lot of gang stalkers that don't really have that full access, or either choose to not have that full access, that don't talk out loud on my channel with the broadcast telepathy where I can hear them. But I know they're there. I know they're there, and they come on every now and then. And in the past, I've had quite a few people on my neural monitoring, real people, and I knew some of them. And I've been through so many different circumstances that I know for sure this is how this works. I mean, I've caught people with mind control headsets and stuff on all the hacking stuff I've proved over the years, and it's just going to get worse. The situation's going to get worse because my knowledge and my position continues to get better, and as long as that's happening, my level of being able to expose them is going to become greater because I understand it better. And I understand it completely now, how it works. I just don't, if I'm trying to dig into the hacking part of it, I'm not an expert, but I'm working on it. So now, all of those people that are on your channel are doing something, okay? They're doing what they call an EMF broadcast. They call it their live stream, where they're live streaming over the web, over to their certain people on, and it's not something that you're going to be able to find very easily. It is probably possible to find it. But they're going to do everything that they can to keep you suppressed and in the dark about how this works. And you may have a glitch now and then where their little hacking circumstances didn't work out right, and you start to find things that you're not supposed to find, and they will brick your device real quick. They've done it to me quite a few times. But the guys that are on my channel out loud talking, and there's 4 guys that have a main full-time position on my channel, and they're very violent. They bring people on with them for their live streams. They get on mind control together, and they'll have 5 or 10 people doing a live stream, and it'll be one particular gang stalker's live stream. But all the others that don't come on talking out loud all the time, that are still on, they're also doing live streams. And there's different levels of it. All right. So if you think about it like a TV show, okay? Now think if somebody has not very much good content, and they're not very intelligent, and so they still need a man's attention. So at that point, they're going to start to, like a child, act out. And so acting out to get a man's attention, and to gain some sort of following and some interest in their live stream. All right. And that's where it can become violent. Now, because I've noticed this over the years, the gang stalkers that seem to put on more of a good show, or like, sometimes you'll have some people that come on your channel, and they'll have a whole scenario, and they're trying to get you to buy into it. And it just becomes this whole thing, and where they're freaking you out, especially in the beginning. That's why a lot of people don't have the extreme torture in the beginning, because you have people that are doing these live streams, and you're calling the police, and it's all wild, and a lot of people are watching. And so it's very interesting to other neural monitoring, mind control people, or gang stalkers, or whatever. So so they get a lot of attention for their live stream, and they're able to make a little bit of money, and all of these things work out for them. And so violence and completely torturing people doesn't really come into play as much. So then you start to know what's going on. And when you start to know what's going on, the tricks and the scenarios and all of this stuff, you're not calling the police every day anymore. You're not trying to escape the Illuminati and clearing out your bank account and deleting online accounts and hopping on the train, or none of that. You're not doing all of that anymore. You're trying to cope with the new normal, which is they don't go away, and they're there every day, and then it starts to become more and more violent. And so when I pretty well had it worked out of how it worked and what was going on, and they had all decided, you're not getting your neural monitoring. Keep me from it if you can. Long term, you're gonna lose, but this is a bad deal for them. Really, it is. because I'll just become more and more public, and everything that I figure out will be public. Okay, and it's just going to start to cause a whole lot of problems for more than just my gang stalkers. But that's how they want to play. So once it gets like that, like the guy that was on my channel, they call him Black James, and I had met him maybe 5 or 6 times in person, and he's close to the girl that has possession of my neural monitoring, and and I knew quite a few of the people that were involved with all of this, and then when I started to kind of figure out something was going on, is when I started to get gang stalked. But James knew well, James started putting on live streams, and back in like 2015. All right, and then he brung a couple people on with him, and then it became like a whole big group of them, and it wasn't like a complete violent scenario. Now I had been attacked before, but I didn't know that's what was happening before. The guy Marcus from Howard Circle on my channel all the way back to 2013, physically attacking my body before I knew what remote neural monitoring or gang stalking was. And nobody had came out loud with broadcast telepathy at that point. So at that point, I was able to I was able to live life and think, some maybe there's some physical ailment or have some kind of problem. Later I would discover that it had been broadcast torture the whole time. But for that whole about a year, when James and everybody else was coming on to my channel all the time, and James was on full time, he had Kimberly and Emily on full time, and those were the three full timers back then, 2016 throughout that year, and a whole bunch of part time people, and I even knew some of them. But once they decided, he's not going to, we're not giving him his neural monitoring, I guess, and they had already done enough damage to my life to where they didn't want me to get neural monitoring. But I had actually started to figure out a lot of how everything works and what's going on, and even who was involved. And so James says, I hope you're ready for this, because these guys are relentless, and that's when he passed it off to the Howard Circle guys, let them be the main guys on my channel. And still all controlled by this girl that has my neural monitoring, works with all of these people for different type of reasons. But when they came on my channel in late 2016 is when it became a violent torture session. And so now, 5.5 years later, it has been a violent torture session the whole time. The whole time. Now, the Howard Circle guys, they're not like it was back then. Well, James would put on a hell of a show, really. And I can admit that. They were putting on some pretty wild shows, about my life, and they had me buying into all kinds of bizarre stuff and running around town, and a lot of crazy things were happening, and it was probably very interesting for other gang stalkers or just mind control people in general to watch, and maybe even participate in these live streams. I used to have people follow me around everywhere, where they would put me on public to a certain extent. That's even happened this year. It's still with people try to run me off the road a couple times, where I know that she had put my profile on public to at least let people know where I'm at. And the whole idea is to blow your mind, or at this point, really, the idea has been for quite a long time to destroy me and to harm me, to get rid of me, whether it be death, murder, or imprisonment, or anything else that they could come up with. But when the Howard Circle guys took over late 2016, they don't put on that good of a show, and they don't have that. If you watch a TV show, if it's very interesting, you're gonna watch it, or a movie or something like that. But think about when it's not that interesting, or the actors aren't that good. And you got a whole bunch of special effects, or you got a bunch of people acting retarded, or just see how stupid I can act and see if that can get me some attention, and it starts to have to be something else, because the storyline just ain't that good, or the actors just ain't that good. And even now, as I speak, I can feel broadcast on my face and my eyes and stuff like that. And they do that all day, every day. All day, every day. I wake up with them broadcasting in my mouth and penetrating my abdomen and attacking my genitals. And the last night they were on my eyes so much, my eyelids started to feel burned. And they do that constantly. And it's because they don't have the capacity or they don't have the personality for that level of entertainment that can just be from talking. Or they try to put on scenarios, but they're not good at it. And it always becomes violent. Every day they torture me, all day, every day. And I don't believe in any of the garbage that they say, and I don't go along with any of their scenarios. I don't really want to even hear them at all, but they never shut up. They're always trying again and again and again, and they're complete failures. They've been on my channel for nearly a decade that I know of. They're not good at it at all. It's just a spiral downward, and I don't know where it's going to land or how long it's going to take, but it's ultimately they're losing and they know it, and they get more and more and more violent every single day. So that's one of the biggest reasons why they're attacking and torturing me. But you can't discount other reasons. So, I know there's a lot of people, including myself at times, where there's just somebody that wants to destroy you. And if they have control of your neural monitoring, the first thing they're going to do is let some idiots like these guys on to try to hurt you. And the whole idea might be to destroy you. They broadcast in your mouth every day. You taste electricity and it burns your gums. And they do that every day for 5 or 6 years. And then our teeth fall out. And then you look like a crackhead. And that's what they want. And if you don't look like a crackhead, it's because you spent $30,000 on some dental work. And that's what they want too. Any way to suppress you or hurt you, to hold you down, because it's like a form of slavery. Okay? And if she's got 10 people on my channel and 4 of them are full blown out loud attacking my body and everything else, and then there's 5 or 6 more that are doing it on the silent level, but doing the same thing basically, and maybe there's 50. How many is there? Okay, and how many of them are making money? And they're not just sitting there all day doing this every single day for a decade without making anything. You have to man must support his life, right? So they have to make money somehow, and to be able to sit here and do this, I don't believe that somebody is supporting them that much so they can just sit here for free and do this every day, all day. I know that they make money in different ways, creating programs of your life, your physical abilities, your mental capacity, live streaming, advertising, EMF advertising, all kinds of different ways that they can make a little bit. And when they're invested, 10 years down the road, and they got, 10,000 little live stream things out there making money, if it makes a couple cents a day, there's so many of them, and as they're invested, they're deep into it and they're invested. They don't want to lose that, and they don't want to lose you. They want to have access to your mind and your life. And so it's a form of slavery. All right, but then think of all the people that are being attacked, and all the people that have committed suicide, and all the people that they have killed. And it really starts to become more than slavery. It's also genocide. But they don't want to release you, all right, because they look at you as an asset or a threat or both. And so they want to keep you in a certain position. And the more you try to wiggle out of that position, the more violent and irate they may become. So you may have a situation where they just want to destroy you and hurt you real bad. Maybe somebody that's jealous, or you did something to them, or a girl they likes you, or who knows what the deal is. But for some reason, whoever has your neural monitoring wants to destroy you or kill you, and so they become very violent. They're starting to put broadcasts on my eyelids again, and I can feel it, and it starts burning, and it starts running stuff over your eyes. And this is something they do to me every single day. They started the eyes thing about 2 years ago. They started the mouth thing about 5 years ago, and some of the other types of torture. See, I'm about to have to go wash my face. Some of the other types of torture have been going on for the whole time, like almost 10 years. But those are some of the reasons why they may be attacking you. There is a reason behind it, most likely, um, even if it's just because that's the crowd that they have that's paying attention to them. So that's who they're putting on the show for, is people that want to see you get abused, or people with less capacity that resort to abuse to gain a man's attention or to gain each other's attention and give each other high fives like it's real cool. But ultimately, neural monitoring, I promise it works exactly like I say it does. I know, I may go into it a little more and study some of these, you know, guys that claim to be scientists or CIA people, or you know, partial inventors of neural monitoring, or artificial telepathy, all of this stuff, because there's quite a few guys out here, and I mean, who knows? They could just be trying to sell books. They could just be trying to get publicity. But I definitely know for 100% fact how this stuff works from my personal experience and a lot of the insights that I've had over the years, and dealing with people that actually have neural monitoring that aren't CIA agents or scientists or anything else. They're just regular people, and I know plenty of them. And so it's not exactly how people try to portray it is. But before I get too deep into that, I'll probably look into more of what some of these people are saying before I come completely public about you know, my disagreements with them. But anyway, that's it. That's pretty much how it works. It's real bad, but it does work that way, and it is something that you can access. And you may need to learn a lot about computers or the internet or network protocols and all of that combined, really. Um, it's probably not a bad idea to learn about electromagnetics. And, you know, we might have to become scientists. We may have to become world class hackers. Whatever it is, I want to be free. And I know you do too. So that's where I stand, and I'll stop at nothing. Thank you for watching.